Raghavendra, what more updates do you have at this point in time?
Well, yes, Ramesh, the big news of the day is that all these accused in the infamous 2G scam have been acquitted. And ever since that news broke out, we are witnessing utter chaos outside the main gates of the Patiala House Court. An army of sorts of the DMK has swooped down on this area. They are carrying flags, party flags, the black and red colored flags, and they are also carrying placards saying truth has finally prevailed and Satyamev Jayate. And they are raising slogans in favor of their party, in favor of their leaders. And we also have a battery of lawyers representing the accused. In fact, it was a lawyer who first rushed out of the courtroom, and he came out and broke this news that A. Raja and Kanimozhi had been acquitted by the CBI court. And ever since, we are witnessing utter chaotic scenes outside the Patiala House courts. And it's a big verdict in a way, because politically it is going to have huge ramifications. Had this verdict gone against A. Raja and Kanimozhi, the DMK would have got on the back foot, and with the DMK, the Congress would have got on the back foot, given the fact that it was the Congress-led UPA government during whose tenure this infamous 2G scam surfaced. And A. Raja, all the allegations against A. Raja made by the CBI suggested that he had misused his official position in granting favors to private parties and corporates. And Prime Minister Manmohan Singh was at the helm of affairs, and the charges were that he probably misled the Prime Minister, and all of this could happen under Prime Minister Manmohan Singh's watch. Now, with this exoneration, the Congress has got not just a breather, but it has got, almost a new lease of life. And also the fact that the Parliament is in session, it will give a resurgent Congress, which is already in a very combative mode, it will give them more ammunition to target the BJP, because we must not forget the fact that the BJP had made the corruption scandals that had happened during the UPA term as their main electoral planks in the run-up to the 2014 Lok Sabha elections. At that time, Narendra Modi, who was campaigning for the BJP, had repeatedly invoked all these scams, the 2G scam in particular. And now with this, the CBI court verdict exonerating A. Raja, Kanimozhi and all these accused, it is going to give Congress a much-needed fillip. And the Congress, we can now expect, will be further combative inside both the houses. And already we have been witnessing for the past few days that the Congress has been trying to corner the government over Prime Minister's recent remarks on Manmohan Singh. Now this particular judgment will give Congress furthermore strength, and they will get far more combative after this. Ramesh?
Indeed. Karthikeya, Raghavendra and Dakshinamurthy, do stay on. It is getting to 30 past 11 India time. I want to take a moment or two to listen to the reactions coming in since the 2G verdict came out this morning.
We don't know about the loss of the exchequer. A lot of that was notional loss, as you know. And the main thing is that the public got cheaper telephone rates. So I'm not quite sure about the loss. But if they've been acquitted, then clearly justice has worked as it's supposed to work in our country.
I have never commented on this case when this case was going on. And I don't think I should comment now. But one thing is clear, that the allegation of a major scam involving the highest levels of government was never true, was not correct, and that has been established today.
All right, you were listening to the political reactions coming in thick and fast since the 2G verdict came out from the Patiala House courts in New Delhi. You're watching the continuous coverage here on WION of the fallout, the political implications of this big 2G verdict coming out this morning from New Delhi. We have the full complement of WION reporters on the ground in the newsroom, and also guests joining us via Skype live from various locations in the country. I have with me Karthikeya Sharma in the WION newsroom, Raghavendra Rao outside the courts in New Delhi, and joining us via Skype from Bengaluru is K.S. Dakshinamurthy. If I can go one more time to Dakshinamurthy in Bengaluru. Mr. Murthy, in all of this narrative, what do you have to say about the future of one gentleman called Manmohan Singh? the coming as it does on the wave of a reasonably good performance in Gujarat, and now the 2G verdict acquitting all the accused. Where would you place Manmohan Singh in all of this?
If you recall, when Manmohan Singh was the Prime Minister, and a question was asked about how come he couldn't he was not able to handle his DMK colleagues, basically referring to Mr. Raja and this 2G scam. So then he indirectly or directly he said that in a coalition your hands are tied, so you really can't you have to make do with a certain kind of adjustment or something to that effect. So that caused that provoked a lot of criticism, and since then he was all kinds of taunts were thrown at him. He was called the silent prime minister. So it's kind of it's kind of a trolling that took over, and then until now that is and then when he turned and when he criticized the BJP government on demonetization, etc., people always refer to what happened during his regime to kind of try to discredit him or dilute what he was trying to say. So today's verdict is definitely going to erase all those kind of taints from Mr. Manmohan Singh, and then people can't, people will have to take him seriously, and it's and as an individual, Mr. Manmohan Singh came into the government as one who had a very clean image, and etc., etc. So in many ways, that has kind of got it's been re-established that he really was wrong, going by this judgment. So it's a huge boost for Mr. Manmohan Singh, both politically and individually. So I think it's and as far as the Congress is concerned, definitely it rebounds on the Congress, and coming after a good fight in Gujarat. I think, and then with a new president in place in Mr. Rahul Gandhi. So I think they really have something to really celebrate now, So, but then of course they still have a long way to go. There's still, a whole lot of other issues that they need to answer, and politically they need to, really do a lot of things. But then, this is a kind of a beginning, and probably, the campaign managers or the think tank of the Congress will now try to leverage this. And let's not forget the DMK. See, today, an election is going on. There's a by-election going on in Chennai. And then, plus there is also this whole issue of the DMK. If you look at the last 5 years in Tamil Nadu, politically the DMK has become very silent, So now this gives them a chance to come back, and very strongly.
Karthikeyan, Mr. Murthy happens to be talking to us from Bengaluru, which goes to the polls next year. So Karnataka, Rajasthan, Chhattisgarh, Madhya Pradesh, the northeastern states, how is this going to play itself up politically in the months ahead?
You see
You're asking me?
I'm saying, sir, that you made a very pertinent point. The issue is that this was like a stigma for the Congress party, Ramesh. The problem was that this was not about an individual who was an alliance partner in the Congress. It was about the way Congress allowed it. The perception was that somehow Prime Minister ignored it. The perception was that the Prime Minister allowed the corruption to take place because he wanted the government to survive. So it is the stigma which has been taken care of. With the stigma gone, the electoral battle in Karnataka, Nagaland and Mizoram, and then in the next November, which is Chhattisgarh, Rajasthan and Madhya Pradesh, it's going to be very, very closely contested. Not only because of the fact that the people have been acquitted, but Manmohan Singh has been relieved of that stigma. He can actually go out and campaign. So the most potent weapon in Congress armory today with this judgment is not Rahul Gandhi. It becomes Manmohan Singh himself, who can play as a victim and go for the generation of sympathy. Look at Narendra Modi's campaign. He will play the victim, he gets the sympathy, he turns the election around. That's what has happened in Gujarat. This is what Manmohan Singh is getting with this verdict. The stigma is gone. He is the victim. He can go out and say there was a political campaign against me, but there was no legal basis for it. And that's where the punch comes in.
Indeed, a shot in the arm for Manmohan Singh, as Karthikeyan pointed out. I want to take a moment or two to listen in to the reaction once again of Kanimozhi, the woman of the moment.
It turned out good for the DMK. And I love to thank everybody who stood by me, my family, my husband, my party, the party, the leaders, and from across the party who understood.
All right, that was Kanimuri of the DMK party talking to reporters outside the Patiala House courts in New Delhi. These are latest visuals of the celebration that broke out outside the courts from the DMK cadres who gathered in large numbers outside the Patiala House courts in New Delhi soon after the judgment came out in the 2G spectrum allocation scam case. All right, I still have with me the full complement of WION reporters on the ground in the newsroom and all the guests joining us via Skype or phone from various locations in India. But if I can go back to my colleague Raghavendra, who's standing by outside the Patiala House courts in New Delhi. Raghavendra, now we heard the political reactions coming in, and we are discussing at the moment about the gentleman called Manmohan Singh. Kartikeya says it is a shot in the arm for him, personally speaking, and he can be the so-called wild card entry for the assembly elections in the months ahead. What's your take on the implications for the Congress party campaign in particular?
Well, absolutely, Ramesh, and this particular verdict does give a huge fillip to the Congress, which has been beleaguered for most part of the past 3.5 years, ever since the BJP rode to power at the centre, riding on such high numbers, such huge numbers. And the BJP election juggernaut has been rolling ever since. The Congress has been finding itself increasingly marginalized on the national stage. Now, we must not forget the fact that the BJP's 2014 Lok Sabha campaign was centered around the corruption plank and how the BJP milked this particular issue, targeting the Congress, saying the 10 years of Congress rule were full of corruption, were full of scams and scandals like the 2G. And the fact that Prime Minister Manmohan Singh was at the helm of affairs for those 10 years, he obviously was the most obvious and easy target for the opposition BJP at that time. Now, a verdict like this does give a huge breather to someone like Manmohan Singh. It does give a huge breather to a party like Congress. And the fact that Congress is just fresh out of an election in Gujarat, where despite losing the election, it has managed to improve its performance. It has managed to, put up a fight against the BJP. And it is in a resurgent mood, so to say. So a development like this, where a verdict has been delivered in which a scam, and accused in the scam, they have been exonerated.
Right.
It's a different matter, though, that the government will surely appeal against this verdict. It will go to a higher court. But those are things which will happen in the due course of time. But it does give fresh ammunition and a fresh lease of life to the Congress and to Dr. Manmohan Singh.
Right.
And yes, it would not be far-fetched that the Congress indeed sees a great opportunity in this to project Dr. Manmohan Singh as a key player in forthcoming assembly elections. Rahul Gandhi has taken the helm of affairs in the Congress. But yes, Manmohan Singh, post this verdict, his relevance and significance in the Congress will surely be revived.
All right, Raghavendra, Kartikeya and Mr. Murthy, do stay on. WION's Jessica Taneja spoke to the counsel of the 2G accused, Vijay Agarwal, who hailed the court's verdict and questioned the Comptroller and Auditor General of India, Vinod Rai, for his report on the 2G spectrum case. Listen in.
We're joined by Mr. Vijay Agarwal. Mr. Agarwal, all have been acquitted. There were some very, very serious charges. Yeah. You're saying that just because a CAG nominee comes up with a report of sorts, you will not buy that. But how will you deny that so much money was put here and there? What about the scam in total?
No money was put here and there. Everything was notional. See, the government wanted and the country wanted that there should be more tele density and people should have lower tariffs. So that would have been the result of Raja's policy. So it was a policy decision, and a policy decision can never be challenged by an accountant or in a court of law.
Okay, fine, it can't be challenged by an accountant, but that is more than 1 lakh crore that cost the exchequer. How do you explain that?
It is only a judgmental issue, and the CAG felt that everything should be auctioned. That is not the case for the natural resources. Natural resources of the country are allocated.
But even the Supreme Court recognizes. No, sir.
But even let me complete and don't argue here. CBI argued. They had the big prosecution lawyer nominated by the Supreme Court. So they all argued there and they failed, madam.
No, So if you say that first come first serve is not the way to go, you say is the way to go, auction is not the way to go. But even the Supreme Court identifies that auction is the most transparent way of distributing licenses. How would you disagree with that?
See, revenue maximization is not the object of the government in a welfare state. You have so many subsidies, so why do you give the support prices to the farmer? You should go by the market forces. Everything is not determined by the market forces in a welfare state, madam.
What are you going to do from now on?
We will read the judgment and find out.
You read the judgment and find out. Well, happy day for you. Thank you for speaking to WION. Well, there you go. We heard Vijay Agarwal talk about how all the accused in the case have been acquitted, and the reasons they are acquitted with the judgment will definitely tell them in some time. Jessica Taneja with video journalist Ankit Singh and Gopal for WION, New Delhi.
All right, that was a rather combative Jessica Taneja speaking to the counsel of the 2G accused Vijay Agarwal outside the Patiala House courts. All right, we still have Dakshina Murthy joining us from Bengaluru and Karthikeya Sharma from the WION newsroom. Mr. Murthy and Karthikeya, to you first, Karthikeya. We've been discussing about the impact of this verdict on the general polity of the country, especially in light of the Parliament session on and the Assembly elections due next year. Talking specifically about Tamil Nadu now in light of the acquittal of the DMK leaders A. Raja and Kanimozhi. One, how is it likely to play itself out in today's RK Nagar by-election, which is happening even as we speak, number one. And number two, in generally across Tamil Nadu in the days ahead?
Two things, yes. There is a possibility that the voting pattern in RK Nagar poll might get affected by this verdict. You know what happens is when you have a verdict like this, the cadre gets mobilized. The booth level workers are more static. They go out and get more people. See, that's the difference with BJP's machinery made a difference in Gujarat. Despite a surge, the machinery was able to hold on to its workers, especially in urban areas. So if in RK Nagar by-poll which is taking place, if this creates a sort of an enthusiasm within DMK, then the advantage goes to the DMK. But most importantly, see how the life has turned around in Tamil Nadu, how the wheels of fortunes have turned. There was a time when DMK was beleaguered. There was fight between Alagari and MK Stalin. Kanimozhi went to jail. DMK Raja was out. Karunanidhi was ailing, and Jayalalitha stood tall. And today what has happened? ADMK has been broken into two parts. Sasikala is behind the bars. There are cases of corruption against major people. Two people are at the helms of affair. The EPS OPS gang again are at loggerhead. And suddenly you find, despite the losses which the DMK face, the DMK and Congress sitting pretty, which means that they will have a striking chance in 2019 Lok Sabha elections. See, the other house is not in order today. The house which was not in order has come into order and the stigma has gone. So that is why the political equation in the most important state of South India, Tamil Nadu, has completely changed. And let me tell you, the Congress came back to power in 2004 not because it swept UP, Bihar or Madhya Pradesh. It was because of Andhra Pradesh and Tamil Nadu.
Right. I want to take the question across to Mr. Murthy in Bengaluru. Mr. Murthy, how will it or how might it impact Tamil Nadu politics, especially in light of the 2G verdict on the RK Nagar by-election which is happening today and generally across the state in the days ahead?
The first point is the verdict is definitely going to give a huge boost to DMK in today's election. That's number one. That's of course a minor thing. As far as the larger issue of DMK in Tamil Nadu is concerned, they were already sitting pretty post Jayalalitha's death. Now this one really makes them unstoppable. I don't think anyone can stop the DMK from winning elections whenever it happens. The 2019 elections and the Assembly elections, whenever it happens, I think the DMK is really back on its feet because of this verdict. So it's because, since 2012, they've really, since the previous elections, the Jayalalitha, the ADMK won, though maybe not with a great majority, but then the DMK has always been on the defensive. Karunanidhi has not been keeping too well, and MK Stalin has been around trying to keep the spirits up of the party. And somebody like Raja or Kanimozhi who are important people in the party, with all these kind of accusations against them, the party was really, in a kind of a bad shape. But I think with this verdict, I think they really prove, and they're going to be all out DMK. So you can just, it's the nemesis of the ADMK, in Tamil Nadu. Let's put it that way.
But Mr. Murthy, I have to ask you this. Now, would the 2G verdict become another Bofors case where everybody talks about corruption without there being enough proof to nail a politician? Your thoughts?
You see, the Bofors case was very different. In the Bofors case, there were leads, there were indications, and there was the question that there was corruption to some extent, and it led to certain individuals. Here in the 2G case, it's a clean whitewash. In the sense the allegations have been pushed out of the window. There has been, at least from what we hear, at least from today's one-line, order, it shows that all the 17 have been, acquitted. It basically shows that there is absolutely no substance. It's different from the Bofors case.
All right, it's different from the Bofors case, says Mr. Dakshinamurthy, who's joining us from Bengaluru. I want to go across to DMK spokesperson Karunan, who joins us on the phone line at this moment. Good morning to you. Your initial reaction to the 2G verdict acquitting all the accused, including your leaders A. Raja and Kanimozhi.
Yeah, it's a very, very happy moment for the DMK party, which has been unnecessarily dragged into this controversy. This is the time Mr. Vinod Roy should apologize to the nation for the fraud he perpetuated on the people of India. He contemplated a mind-boggling amount and said that is what is the loss. Where is the loss, Mr. Vinod Roy? We are asking now. Will you compensate the sufferings undergone by the party? He's been now cushioned with a lot of force. Is this your pro for giving up this mind-boggling amount? Now the court has thrown the case of the prosecution to the window. It said nothing doing. No allegation is proved. The media now has a responsibility to disseminate this verdict and ensure that same kind of coverage is given to this acquittal.
Mr. Saravanan, you know as well as any other person that the legal case has not met a finality yet. There can be an appeal in the higher court. But that said, politically speaking, how does the BMK seek to encash or make use of this verdict in the days ahead, especially at a time when there's a lot of political uncertainty inside Tamil Nadu as we speak?
See, politically, it will be a big push to the party, and this will strengthen the hands, this verdict will strengthen the hands of our leader, Mr. N.K. Stalin, who has been tirelessly working. And now we will become one of the most important parties in all over India.
All right, that was A. Saravanan, DMK spokesperson, joining us on the phone line, talking about his reaction to the 2G verdict. He says it has come with a shot in the arm of vindication for the DMK leaders, in particular A. Raja and Kanimozhi, who have been acquitted in the 2G verdict delivered by CBI Special Judge O.P. Saini in New Delhi just moments ago. All right, while we watch these visuals coming to you from outside the Patiala House Courts in New Delhi, where there's a crowd of DMK supporters celebrating the verdict, raising placards, flags, and distributing sweets among themselves. I want to bring our viewers up to speed with all the latest coming in this morning. The verdict is finally out in India's biggest 2G scam case and its biggest twist in biggest Indian scam. All accused in India's biggest corruption scam, that is the 2G corruption case, have been acquitted by a special CBI court in New Delhi. Judge O.P. Saini pronounced verdict in Patiala House Courts today, where key accused and DMK leaders A. Raja and Kanimozhi were present for the hearing. DMK supporters, as I said, rejoiced and broke into celebrations outside the Delhi court soon after the verdict was pronounced. The verdict in another case related to money laundering in 2G allocations case is still to be announced. That's the big news we are tracking here on WION this morning. It is getting to, it is 10 to 12 India time, and we'll bring you all the latest. I'm told Karthike has some more updates for us. Karthike?
Yes, I got a statement from Kanimozhi, who with D. Raja had gone to jail. And the statement says, after the verdict, I have always believed that I would see the light of the light at the end of the tunnel. I have been waiting for this last 6 years for this day. The last 6 years have been harrowing, to say the least. To be falsely accused in a case for a notional loss of 1,76,000 crore to appease opposition that was stalling parliament is atrocious. I want you to realize I was made an accused just because I was director of a company, and for only 20 days where I not attended a single board meeting and we had not signed a single document, speaks of the depth with which the system snooped to ensure that I was dragged to the courts so that DMK gets defeated in the assembly elections, which were 5 months away. I was charge sheeted with the sole aim to tag my name with the case. I was a journalist and writer by profession and not a career politician. I was accused of amassing wealth through the scam. Let me tell you today, if my aim was to amass wealth through politics, then I should have joined politics in my early 20s, but I came into politics at the age of 40 when the party thought it was time to come to fill a gap. If I was power hungry, I would have easily become minister, but I refused ministership. Despite all that, I was falsely dragged into this, which has definitely left me scarred. Now with this behind me, I will do all I can to strengthen the party and work for the people of Tamil Nadu. I owe a debt of gratitude to my family and party workers. So as we were talking about Ramesh, in the context of a different Tamil Nadu political scenario, the statement says it all. You know, she's not talking about her tenure in Delhi. She's talking about DMK. She's talking about Tamil Nadu. She's talking about elections. So in that way, I think the DMK's problems for some time now seems to be sorting out on their own, because Aligarh has gone, Stalin has taken over, Kanimoy sides with MK Stalin, and the Congress and DMK alliance stays intact. So in the most important state of South, which is Tamil Nadu, which actually impacts our foreign policy also, not like other states, you have a political reconfiguration which is taking place. We'll see, as you pointed out, whether R.K. Nagar will bear testimony to the verdict today. But you pertinently pointed out the fact that not only this will impact the other assembly elections, but this will have ramification in the way the parliament will function and the way Manmohan Singh will be deployed by the Congress party to target the government of the day. Ramesh.
Kartikeya, and just on this last point about political reconfiguration that you mentioned, remember Mamata Banerjee of Bengal had said soon after the Gujarat elections came out that the bells have been tolled for 2019. Now, with the benefit of hindsight, Congress's performance in Gujarat plus coupled with the 2G verdict, how will the political dynamic play itself out between now and 2019?
I would say that the political dynamics will be very different. And for the simple reason, BJP will find it very difficult to target Manmohan Singh till there is a decision by the higher courts which overturns the decision of the lower court. In that span of time, whatever that may be, a year or 2 years, the Congress will have an upper hand. High Court have a different position on it, the game changes.
Right.
But till High Court doesn't take a position on it in terms of conclusion of the case, the ball lies with the Congress.
Absolutely. We're now joined by Mohan Raman from Chennai. Good afternoon to you, Mr. Mohan. Thank you for joining us on Beyond this morning. Your initial reaction to the 2G verdict acquitting all the accused, including DMK leaders A. Raja and Kanimozhi, who incidentally belong to the same state as you.
Yeah, both Raja and Kanimozhi. Okay, for a start, we'll have to analyze this in two parts. The first is the impact on the national scenario. The national scenario, all I can say is, for both Mr. Amit Shah and our Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji, the pitch has started to take spin, but the opposition are not without spinners. So they have to start batting far more carefully, especially when they have got a mystery spinner who is their new president. So, and he seems to have fared well. His maiden effort is not exactly disappointing. So, that is the national thing. The state level impact, especially with R.K. Nagar going to polls today, I would like to state that the corruption of the DMK was never a major poll issue as far as these guys were concerned.
Okay.
So what was happening was it was the corruption of the AIADMK which was being talked about, and they were the guys who were, rumored to have distributed cash and this and that. So it's not as if the DMK's image was any more tainted, or after the judgment it is going to be less tainted. It's just that they're going to start howling their head off from the top. And in the longer run, it will definitely have a bearing because they will now go on top of the ivory pedestal and start shouting that the AIADMK is corrupt. All the while, whenever they open their mouth and say, AIADMK, you're a corrupt government,